Lead without burnout. If 70% of your company depends on you, success is silently draining you. Today, you will learn how one CE coach scaled impact, set real boundaries without losing momentum, and fix meetings that waste hours. Stay to the end for a simple 10-minute daily habit that can save 90 minutes tomorrow and the two-word mindset shift that changes everything. I want to introduce you to Dana Earhart, who is a business growth strategist and leadership mentor who helps service-based business owners scale 6, 7, and 8 figures without sacrificing time, freedom, profits, or joy. With decades of leadership expertise, she's guided thousands of leaders and hundreds of CEOs to remove bottlenecks, free up resources, and accelerate growth. Leaving corporate 13 years ago with a toddler in tow, she built her business around the life she wanted and now helps others do the same. Well, Dana, it's so good to have you on this show. You have this great radiant way about you. I will say that I just briefly getting a chance to say that, talk to you off air, but you look amazing. How is everything going today?
Things are going fabulous. Living in the desert, we actually got to see a little rain this morning, so that kind of set the tone for the day.
That's cool. Well, when you say fabulous, what in your world are you doing that you're like, this is exciting? I love what I'm doing. This gets me out of bed. Do you have something that that's really getting you fired up every single day?
Well, two things. I have a 14-year-old son, so getting up in the morning and making sure that I actually do my own exercise before he is awake, and then getting him out the door and onto school on time is certainly one thing that gets me up. But professionally, I recently launched a new vehicle of working with clients. And I'm just really excited about that because it will allow me to serve more people, and really hopefully make a difference in more people's business. And of course, with my philosophy is I'm not interested in making an impact in your business unless that impact in business is going to support the life you want. And honestly, that in itself is probably the foundation of what my business is all about. And that does light me up every single day. And so I consider myself blessed to be able to truly do what I love doing.
Well, I love that. And obviously, impacting people is what sounds like it really drives you, which is awesome. New vehicle, we don't hear, well, that's not true. We hear of lots of new vehicles all the time.
Yeah.
What is this that's going to allow you to scale even more, help more people? Because I think all of us want that at the end of the day. We want to, live in our zone of genius, as Lencioni calls it, and we want to help people. But what is this thing that you're developing or that you've developed that is allowing you to serve more people? That sounds awesome.
It's called the CEO Control Room. It's a 13-week experience, or if some people prefer to think of it as 3 months because it feels less monumental with a 3 versus 13. It's funny how our psychology works there, but it's really taking the best of what I've been bringing for the last 12, almost 13 years to my clients privately in a container where we are really honing down to what is your North Star for the next 3 months? What is that one thing that will have the biggest impact in your business? And of course, given we're in the start of Q4, it's setting you up for a foundational 2026. And what was important to me is that it's not a traditional group program, because they will still have private access to me, because working at the level we do, I know that there are times where we need to dive deeper into your personal situation in your business and really address not just the symptoms, which oftentimes I think CEOs get confused between what is the symptom or the side effect versus the root cause of their challenge. And so while some of that can be done and addressed in community kind of open office hours, which I offer on a weekly basis, there are other times where if we can get on the phone or on Zoom for 20 or 30 minutes and really dial in that one thing that will allow you to move forward in your business today, I want to be accessible for that, and I want to be able to make that level of impact. However, when it's designed in the vehicle it's also much more economical than what my private clients are investing to work exclusively with me over a year. So it's also for those people who may not know me. And so to jump in and make a year-long investment doesn't always come easy. And I understand that. I respect that. So if we can dive in and make a profound impact in 3 months, then I'm putting my mouth where my money is, or my money where my mouth is, uh, to ensure they are getting what they want in those 3 months, so that it becomes a no-brainer. Yes, let's keep working.
I want to go back to 12 years ago, as you said, that you decided, you know what, CEOs, this is the lane I'm going to live in. I see a problem. I know I have this ability to maybe provide a solution, provide guidance. What was it about this arena that you're like, yep, these are my people. This is where I really feel I can serve at my highest level.
Yep.
What was it that honed you into that group?
Well, honestly, it came via a detour. Originally, I had spent 25 years in corporate consulting, traveling the United States, leading a team of 100 individuals across the United States and in London, and had some phenomenal experiences in my 20s and 30s. I welcomed my son 2 months before I turned 40, and that's when I really started thinking about, okay, I don't want to be living in hotels and airports. I want to be home to raise him. So that was the first thing of really catalyst of how do I reinvent myself in a career that will allow me to be a mom who's successful and build a business that supports the life I want. The philosophy that I still stand true to with my clients. But I originally positioned myself as a life coach for busy career women, because that is what I was in the throes of. And very quickly, probably within 6 months, I realized two things. One, the majority of the people I were talking to were business owners. And two, I was running from what I knew. While I do have a passion for the life leadership component of, leadership starts with ourselves, and then breeds out to leading a team. I'm a geek. I love spreadsheets. Numbers talk to me. I like business strategy. I had had experience with strategy, obviously leading a team of 100 individuals. And I didn't start as a leader. If I look back in my 20s, I tease or I joke, even with myself, that I was more of a manager by dictatorship. I didn't know leadership. And so it was, thank goodness, through the journey, through having some good mentors, and really diving into learning more about leadership myself, that I realized there's a much better way to lead than through dictatorship. And it's really through mentorship, through empowerment, and then holding people accountable to what they said and they would do. And so that is my detour of it. Started as positioning myself as a life coach, and then really landed on, I know the tactical business strategy of growing teams, of growing leadership, of growing businesses. I have a passion for the life leadership component that I believe every leader should encompass. And blending those two is really what I felt every small business owner would benefit from. Obviously, I don't go out serving, I'm not here to serve all small businesses. However, I really honed in then on the service-based businesses, because it's a exciting venue, and it's really ultimately what I was part of for the 25 years prior to launching my own business.
Yeah, I like the fact that, and I think that any entrepreneur listening, that iteration, that pivot, that you even said a very interesting, I was running away from what I knew. And I feel like I've seen people do this, and maybe I did it myself when I first got out into the consulting world. It's like, I don't know, maybe we're confused with exactly how can we best serve, right? And so you want to help, right? That's the idea, is you want to bring this knowledge that you have, and yet it's right in front of you. Like, the thing that I should be doing is serving the service-based industry these CEOs that need the help that I have.
Yeah.
Why is it so hard to see that? But the CEOs that you probably talk to, they might be dealing with some of the same stuff. I don't know. Is this just something that by and large human beings have this, I don't, maybe lack of clarity? What was it that finally, because I feel like I've heard the story many times before, and I want to relate to the audience that you're not alone, and here's maybe how you can find your niche, your area.
For me, I think it was more the burnout of being in a container where I did not always feel gave me the best environment, the best strategies, the best space to lead results the way I believed they could be led better. I'm not sure if that came out right. So it was really burning out because I didn't believe how it was done before was the best way, yet I hadn't given myself permission to believe it could be done in a different way. And that it could be done without grind, without hustle, without having to bring work home at night, without feeling like I needed to be checking emails on the weekends. And so the burnout was there. So I think I was believing that it had to be that way. So I don't want to work that way. I better do something else. Instead of saying, no, you can build a successful business. In fact, oftentimes it can be even more successful when the CEO has healthy boundaries and role models healthy boundaries for their team and understands that when you have a happier, healthier employee, they will show up more effective, more productive, more empowered to do what you brought them in to do.
Yeah, I like this idea of burnout. I don't like the idea of burnout.
Right.
So let's not say that.
Yeah.
The conversation of burnout. I was literally I was working with a private client of mine this morning, and the subject came up. I mean,
Yeah.
look, he is making. We'll call him Bob today.
Mm-hmm.
Bob is making. It's about $1.5 million, almost $2 million a year.
Yep.
Doing well for himself. But one of the things is 70% relies on Bob right now for his company to do what it's doing. And what I was inevitably saying to Bob is, here's the challenge we have. I love the work ethic that you have. I love the drive and the passion, and you are fantastic at what you do. Here's the challenge. Nobody wants to be Bob. They're looking at Bob and saying, Bob is putting in, I don't know, 100 hours a week. He's on the phone nonstop. Yep. He has you said the word boundaries. Yep. And while in the moment it's success, I've seen this video play. I've seen it happen. I know what's inevitably coming for Bob, whether it be a relationship crisis, a health challenge, something's coming down the line. And so it's one of those things where this grind culture that many of us grew up in, I pat Bob on the back to say, fantastic. And how can we make this a little bit better? Are you still seeing that with the group you're working with? Or maybe you're, these people are elevated to a different level. I don't know, but I don't like the story of Bob because I know what's coming. And this is one of the things I talk to my executives about all the time. How do we be successful, create success, and not sacrifice our personal lives, our health, all the things? What are you seeing out there, Dana? What are you feeling with the CEOs you're working with?
It's fascinating that I see both sides of the spectrum. I do see those that are like Bob, who don't realize that they are role modeling something for their team that their team doesn't want. On the flip side, I've had CEOs who have created space for themselves and boundaries. However, sometimes they swing out of the day-to-day too much. Not that they need to be doing the day-to-day operations. However, they are absolutely integral in leading the day-to-day operations, leading their leadership team. And without having good cadence of meetings, without having a structure or a purpose of the meetings that they are holding, without knowing what the desired outcome of a meeting is before you even go in there. Because if you don't have a desired outcome, cancel the meeting. Like, there is no point in wasting everyone's time if there is not a specific outcome for that meeting. And so it's helping them understand that meetings are important, that holding team accountable is important, and that you don't have to be accessible, whether it's 24/7 or even in the 8 hours a day. I had one CEO, she was at about 3 million at the time. And she's like, Dana, I'm on Zoom with you right now. They know I'm on a call with you, and they are lined up at my door, waiting to ask me questions. And the hard truth there is reminding people that we teach people how to treat us. And so she had created a culture indirectly, not unknowingly, that they could come to her for every question instead of empowering them with the tools to make solid decisions and run with it themselves, and then check in with her to see if that was the best one later. Or if they have a question and you're meeting on a weekly basis and they know that they're meeting with you in 2 days, to stop and ask themselves, the employee ask themselves, do I really need her answer right now? Or is this something that could be tabled for 48 hours and I can ask in my meeting? And for now, I start moving forward with something I can do. And so it's helping them see their blind spots and seeing where just minor tweaks can have such a profound impact on how the team as a whole is working. So it's really, I guess, back
there's
to your
a lot
question. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, whenever you speak, there's something that I'm just like, well, that's really good. So a couple things, the cadence, you said that word very specifically. It's one of my favorite words when it comes to meetings, because let's just talk about meetings for a second. You say meetings when you go into most companies and people roll their eyes. It's just the reality of what it is, because to your point, there's typically not an intention of exactly why we're even meeting today. We're meeting because, you know what, we need to meet every single week.
Right.
Terrible idea. When you say cadence, do you have, like, I coach on AEIO. That's the way that I set up the meetings. Do you have a specific structure that you advise your CEOs to follow? Or is it primarily make sure you have an intention set, make sure that you set the expectations and we keep it account? What does that look like, Dana? Because I know meetings, again, people are like, really, Jay, and we're going to talk about meetings? Hell yeah. Because this is a really integral part of the success or downfall of your company. They have to happen. You need to meet, you need to communicate, but let's do it effectively, and let's do it so people don't roll their eyes when you say, all right, it's time to meet again. So my question directly is, do you have, when you say cadence, is there a specific structure that you follow?
It really has been customized across the board depending on the industry, because there are some, I'm working with electric companies, some big construction traffic equipment, where the majority of their team is out in the field. And so it can be very costly to be bringing them in. However, it's crucial to meet with their team leaders consistently so that the team leader can be sharing that information and extending any content and information that's required. So it really depends on also the size of the team. So team meetings, there could be team meetings, there can be one-on-one meetings, there can be leadership team meetings, there can be client review meetings. So there's also, all different types of meetings. So I've never gone out with a blanket statement of what the cadence should look like for each, because sometimes it's a matter of also the CEO is trying to figure out, how do I all of a sudden start meeting with all these people? I haven't been doing it at all. So then we're taking it in a tiered approach of, okay, let's start with, at least meeting one-on-one with your team members monthly. Ideally, I'd much rather see it actually weekly or bi-weekly. However, if you can get one-on-ones weekly and you can get if you get one-on-one meeting once a month and you get a team meeting twice a month, there's at least 3 weeks that you're getting a finger on the pulse with each of your leadership team. And then it's also identifying who may need more one-on-one time with you, because some of your team may be veterans. They may be really solid in their role. You might have someone who's new, who you believe has a lot of potential, but right now they're needing more time to be mentored by you on the culture, on the philosophy, on their job specific. So in answer to your question, no, I don't have a specific way to approach it with the clients yet, but it's really customized to begin with.
Got it. Yeah, it is funny, or funny. I don't know that's funny. It's interesting that we're not really taught how to give meetings, just like we're not taught really how to show up as leaders. I mean,
Right.
I have this conversation, I don't know how often, but it's on a weekly basis about the lack of learning how to truly be a leader. It's like, well, you were good at
Yeah.
this position and now you get promoted to the next level, and all of a sudden now you're in this leadership role and you're like, well, I don't know what the heck to do.
Yep.
It's one of those things that I feel like I don't know where it needs to be put in. I don't know if it needs to be sought out, right? That in order to be a great leader, you need to go seek it out. It's certainly not being taught in schools, I guess,
No.
is what I'm saying. And it's one of
Yep.
these things that I hear often people are overwhelmed. Like, I don't know how to lead. I wasn't taught these things. Like, where did you learn? Well, I personally learned by reading, I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds of different leadership books, seeing crappy leaders
Yep.
and really, really committing to that work. The challenge is not a lot of people are willing to do that. And I think that's where we have, this leadership that is not what we're hoping for. And as I sit out there, maybe you have some great examples. I don't see great examples of leadership everywhere, right? Especially when you look at the political landscape, you're like, well, if that's leadership, no go, man. Like that's not gonna be great. And I don't care what side of the aisle you stand on. Leadership is not modeled often for us. What do you wish you could change? If you're like, gosh, if I could change this about leadership, I would put it into schools. I would, right as you got into the company, this would be, leadership reform. Do you have an idea on this, Dana? Because I'm passionate about the subject. I love talking about it. And yet I feel so many people feel lost on how to truly show up as a, servant leader or someone that's really going to drive their company to the next level.
Yeah, great question. And I have a couple different thoughts. And one, I'm going to share one of my biggest pet peeves is I very much dislike the word boss. And for me, when I hear people referring to boss, what I immediately think is that's about ego. That is about a title. That is not about serving a team who is serving a movement greater than any one individual. And that's to me what leadership is. And so, to your question specifically, one thing I wish more leaders understood is that I believe a good leader is there to serve their team. And where so often leaders believe the team serves them, I teach my clients that at the end of every meeting, whether it's a team meeting, whether it's a one-on-one, it's ask them, what more do you need from me to be more successful in your position? And it may or may not be what they themselves can deliver, but it could be a resource that they could get for them. It could be a software, it could be a system, it could be another team member, or it could be education. However, I believe it's our role to always be asking our team, what else do you need to be successful? To me, it's also a way like that can be used as a checkpoint, because if down the road an employee tells me that they need something and they needed it 3 months ago, my question is going to be, why didn't you ask 3 months ago? Why are you asking now? And so that's probably one of the biggest areas that I see leaders forget. Is that they are not there just to lead this team and dictate what needs to be done. They are there to continually support, to continually mentor, and to understand that if you want to grow your business, the team you have right now may or may not be the team that's going to get you there, because every team member you want to be in a growth trajectory as the individual, so that collectively the team can grow in the direction of your goals. And there's some truth to you don't want, as the CEO, you certainly don't want to be the weakest link in the chain. However, you also want to be keeping an eye out for where is the weakest link, and is there something I can be doing to mentor that weakest link to become stronger, or is it time for us to replace that link? Um, I think that's another thing I see happen far too often, is that leaders hire fast and fire slow, and it should be the exact opposite: hire slow, fire fast. But understand that once you make a decision to hire, do everything you can to make that decision right. Don't just expect that, okay, they're here, they're going to do the job now. That's something else I see, that no, there needs to be some ongoing mentorship and checkpoints to ensure that the employee is really understanding the culture, the philosophy, the expectations of the role.
Yeah, and you and I share a background with personal growth. We both went through SCI seminars, which, if people are familiar with it, it's a fantastic program. I have fallen out of touch with the majority, so I don't know if it's keep rolling the way it is or was. Maybe you know, Dana, I don't know. But I guess my point is, having personal growth is just as important as any professional growth. And because we're dealing with human beings now, of course, AI is coming in, and maybe it's not as needed. The AI doesn't need the personal growth as much as the human being. But, I often, when I bring up this idea of really pouring into your group, again, on about a 90-day basis, I'm a big proponent of doing some form of growth, whether it's professional, it's personal, maybe a little bit of both, for your team. If you want to get the best results, as you said before, happy people are productive people.
Yep.
Where does the role of personal growth, personal development, where does that fall on for those CEOs and executives listening? How much of that should they be taking on their shoulders to say, okay, I'm bought in. People are happy. They're going to produce more, but I'm supposed to be, making sure they have personal growth and development, James? Really? That's what you're asking? Where do you think that responsibility, does it lie on the CEO, on the executive team to make sure? Or is that just for the ones that, look, they know they're going to grow if they do it? I'm curious your thoughts on that.
I think it's a cross. I think if personal growth starts being dictated, you risk resistance, and then you risk lost dollars, because you could potentially be paying for seminars that they're going to half-heartedly and not really gleaning from it or implementing from it. But I also think there's an opportunity to be, even at something as simple as making book recommendations. If you know that a particular individual wants to grow in a certain area, and you know that this book would be beneficial, then I would encourage you to be taking the initiative, either buy the book for them or make the recommendations, or if they'd rather hear it on Audible, buy them a membership. Those are something that's, inexpensive. And I'm a big proponent also of, I am not someone who subscribes to, I'm going to read 50 books in a year. I'm going to study 4 to 6 books a year, where I'm going to be reading them and listening to them on a repeat, because I really want to study the content, not just read the book and glean a couple of things. So I think there's 2 ways of going about it. So I think as a leader, it really depends on the individual. And when you're having your one-on-one meetings, you can be asking some key questions to better gauge how eager are they to learn. What are they interested in learning? Are they more interested in the professional growth, or are they interested in the personal growth? Can you have a conversation where you could be making recommendations on the personal growth that they're going to eat up? And if you hadn't had that conversation, you missed that opportunity. So I think there's there's really a cross between how much to be involved and how much to invest. My own situation before I started my business, when I was going through PSI, I had done, the first weekend one, and I kind of drank the Kool-Aid, and it was exposed me to something I didn't even know existed. And I very much wanted to go on to the other levels. And while I was willing to invest in the actual seminar, which they were not, were not inexpensive, I needed 3 or 4 weeks of vacation in order to do all of them. And I only had 2 weeks remaining on the books or something like that. So I went to my leader at the time, expressed what I wanted to do. I was just going there to see if I could have another week vacation unpaid. And she came back to me the next day saying, we want to honor that you are investing in yourself. We are giving you another week vacation and we're paying you for it. That was totally, I was grateful. That was incredibly generous. It was unexpected. And yet that left, here I am 20 years later sharing this story with you because it was such a profound impact that unless you're having those conversations, you don't know what's possible. And so they wanted to reward me for investing in myself, and I became more grateful in them because they rewarded me the opportunity to not lose an income for a week.
Yeah, I mean, whoever that company, kudos to them because again, not inexpensive. We're talking, I don't know, 20 to 30 to 40,000, depending how many levels you go into it that Dana's talking about. And it's not about the money, right? It was what you were getting out of it, which clearly you invest that amount of money, you're going to be invested. I want to get everything I can out of it. Certainly is the idea. What did you get out of it? And again, this isn't a marketing tool for Psy or for Landmark or any of those. I think they're great programs, and I am a big advocate of growth and finding this. For you, when you were going through that journey, was there one like, holy shit, man, this is what I came for. This changed my life. Was there one? Was there several? What was your experience, if you're willing to share what you got out of it and why somebody might want to find their own journey and continue to work on themselves?
It was a phenomenal experience, from the classroom content and experience to being on a ranch in Northern California. Some was co-ed. 1 week was 119 women on a ranch for 9 days. That was an experience of a lifetime. And what I have often shared over the last 2 decades since I experienced all of it is that if I were to summarize all of that, which one was also a 90-day course. So we're talking about, maybe 5 months worth of pure seminar leadership experience and education. One sentence was that I learned the power of you can be a victim or a victor, and the choice is yours every single day. And to go even further, it's every hour of every day. And if you don't like something in your life, if you don't like something in a relationship, in a business, you have the opportunity to change it. So you can be the victim and play the victim, or you can be a victor and start asking yourself questions of how do you improve it? What is it you do want? What is it you're willing to commit to go create what you want?
So audience, you guys that hate when I talk about this, it was the lasting impact for me as well, right? Like, I teach on this all the time. I speak on it on stage. It is one of those lessons. Literally, I can remember taking the paper, putting the line down, putting victor on one side or victim on one side, victor on the other. Actually, I think it was victim and responsible at the time. But anyway, I've gone to victim, victor as well. And it is one of those profound ideas. Like, you get to choose. It is your choice at the end of the day. You may not like that, but it is true. So I love that. You mentioned studying books. I like this idea because I'm definitely falling the other category where I'm a voracious reader. I'm like, I'm ripping through 30 or 40 a year. However, I do have a group that I read every single year again and again and again. Yeah. So maybe that's my studying. Have you read anything recently that you're like, wow, Everybody should read this. It is just like,
Mm.
because I love finding those books. I love to pick them up. I like to change my perspective because it's truly when I attribute everything, if you ask, why have you been successful, quote unquote, I attribute it largely to reading and
Yeah.
the exposure to different ideas. So is there one for you, Dana, or one or two that you're like recent that, oh my gosh, this was so good?
I don't know that I have one recent, and I'm drawing a total blank on the title of the other one. I can picture it. It's a fish jumping, and it's by Gay Hendricks. Um, oh my, and it's about hitting your ceiling. I can't believe I'm going blank on the title. I've
Is the
recommended it
crappy
so many
part.
times.
It's something leap.
The
The
Big
something
Leap.
leap. Oh
Thank
my
you.
God.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay,
That
good. All right. It's a fantastic book. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but yes, the big what was it about that? What was it that really, because it's a simple read, right?
it
That's a
is.
pretty easy one, but it's also, I think some of the best books are that way. What did you get? What did you get from that?
It's one of those books, and the reason I recommend it so often is that I believe you could be reading it every single year and glean new things from it because it is all about hitting your perceived ceiling. It's all about, and then I've brought that into my coaching and consulting because it's always about if we're on a growth trajectory, it's how do we change our ceiling, the current ceiling, into our next floor. And I literally picture that revolving floor of we're moving up to the next level. And so the big leap is just that opportunity to remind you that when you're experiencing certain things, it's a sign that you're hitting your upper limit. And what can you do to break through that upper limit? And so it is, sometimes you could read it once a year. And if you're really in a season of growth, it might be that you could read it every 3 or 6 months and be picking out new things that you can be relating to what you're currently experiencing now. And so I think that's why I like it. And I do like that it's an easier read. I tend to listen more on Audible when I'm out walking, when I'm exercising, when I'm driving, doing things like that, versus sitting down with a hard book. And so I like the simple concepts that can be remembered, recalled, and repeated in my life. And that's why that particular book sticks out.
I'm gonna dust it off. It's time for me to reread it. It's been a couple of years. You mentioned earlier before your son being 14, but something you mentioned you're like, I need to wake up and exercise before I take care of him. Why is that so important? What is it about you putting you first? And guys, this is a loaded question, so we're clear, but I want everybody to hear this. Why is that so important that you are prioritizing you taking care of your exercise first before taking care of your son, the emails, the dog, the house, everything that you have on your plate? Why did you say that? Why was that so important?
Loaded question and so many reasons. One, knowing myself that if I don't do it first, there's a much greater likelihood that I won't do it that day because I will allow all the other things to start taking precedence. And then all of a sudden it's, oh, I need to get the shower. I have a call. I need to be on Zoom. And so knowing our own strengths and our own weaknesses and what works in our own schedule. I have other people who their lunch hours when they work out, and that works out perfectly for them. I also have learned that, if we are going to our phone first, if we're going to our email first, especially, or texts, we're allowing somebody else's priority to become our emergency instead of taking care of ourselves first. And while it's been said so many times, it's a cliche, there's a reason it's a cliche. It's because it's very meaningful, is put your mask on first. Because, and I do tell my clients this often, if you're not taking care of you, understand that you will never bring 100% of your best self to your family, to your business, to your team, to your clients. And you're lying to yourself if you think you can put your mask on last and still bring the best of you. And so the more you do to take care of yourself, whether it's, really focusing on the sleep, the hydration, the nutrition, the movement, all of that, as I'm even working now with a functional medicine doctor to try to get to the root cause of some health issues I've had, it's no different than what we do in business, getting to the root cause. And as leaders, if they are not taking care of themselves, they will not be able to bring the best of themselves. They may not be able to endure. They may not have the mental clarity that their team really needs of them right now in this season. And so it's all of those reasons that I have learned, put myself first.
Yeah, I love it. Guys, here's I'm going to challenge everybody listening. If you don't have your sacred time in the morning, I don't care if you work out in the morning, so we're clear. I just want 15 minutes, guys. I want you to commit to 15 minutes of your sacred time before you take care of anyone else, anything else. And I like to coach on take care of your mind, your body, and your soul. 5 minutes each. That's it. Not a ton, but I want you to give yourself that gift. I'm not asking you to wake up at 5 a.m., 4 a.m. club, 3 a.m. club. I mean, I've heard all those clubs. I'm asking for you to wake up 15 minutes earlier, or at least find that 15 minutes before you go to everyone else. I hope everyone can do that. Dana, I'm sure I could ask you 1,000 questions, but I'm sure there's one I should have known to ask you, and I just didn't. So what didn't I know enough to ask you about what you're doing, what you're building, the work you're doing that would really serve this audience that you're like, come on, man, you got to do better. What is that question? And please just open forum, share away, because you're very knowledgeable. I love what you're doing, but I know I missed something along the way.
Wow, great question. And what immediately was coming to me, just probably really in connection to what we were just talking about, is if I were to give one recommendation to a CEO of how to lead their day better, it would be to allow for some cushion in between meetings so that they can reflect and close out the conversation or the meeting or the project they just had before they move into the next meeting. I just went through this, talking about this with one other client, because she was feeling as though she was just running from meeting to meeting, project to project, client to client, whatever the situation was. And I said, what if you gave yourself 10, 15 minutes in between each meeting to write down, take any notes, take any quick action from that meeting that needed to be done, get it done, crank it out, start thinking about what is the next meeting? What do I need to prepare for? What is the desired outcome? What's the intention of that meeting? What we were talking about earlier. And then, of course, if you need a bio break or you need some water or something to take care of yourself before you go into the next meeting. And then if you end every single day by giving yourself 15 minutes to reflect on the day, what went well, what was challenging, what am I celebrating that I got done, and what didn't get done that really needs to be a priority tomorrow, in addition to ultimately, what are my top 3 priorities or intentions for tomorrow? There was a study done back in the 80s. I think it was Bob Proctor, who of course has written a lot of books on productivity, etc., that talks about for every 1 minute of reflecting and planning, you save 10 minutes in implementation and execution time. And so what I'm teaching in that concept is that if you're spending 10 minutes reflecting, evaluating, and planning your next day, statistics would show that you could be saving 90 minutes in implementation and execution time every single day. So when a CEO wants to know how to get more time back, it's in those 10 minutes a day to reflect and plan and be intentional. And that you start doing that on a daily basis, and you will absolutely see your productivity, your how effectively you're working and the clarity that you're bringing to every day, it will change dramatically, both in the office and outside of the office. So there's my
I
last
love it.
nugget for the day.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's so true. It's, again, this isn't taught, right? We typically, Americans especially, it's, rise and grind, and you just start and you don't finish till the job is done. And while that can be effective, imagine with these little mini breaks, if you
Yeah.
will, however you want to look at it, these moments of silence. And I really like the evening time. What she's talking about, I think, is so good. You notice she also said celebrate, to celebrate yourself. Not only what went well, what didn't go well, what am I celebrating? What am I grateful for? Guys, if you're wondering what I'm talking about when when I'm asking you to journal, there you go. The easy 15 minutes that you can easily do, and it's just you time. Dana, if people are like, yes, I want me time, I want to do some of the CEO work that she's doing, where's the best place for people to connect with you online?
Great question. Thank you. And I do want to correct myself. I said Bob Proctor and it's Brian Tracy. Sorry, it was he is the one that did the study. I just want to acknowledge that. I am on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, but probably LinkedIn is the best place to connect with me. I put out a newsletter at least 3 or 4 times a week with nuggets in there for CEOs. So I would love the connection, and drop me a message and say you heard me here, and I might just have a little goodie for you.
Amazing. I imagine there's lots of goodies in there, guys. Go check her out. Dana, thank you. You're awesome. I appreciate the way you showed up and all the goodness that you gave to the audience. It was awesome. What an incredible conversation with Dana. I just want to take a moment to say how much I appreciated her energy, her wisdom, and the realness she brought to this episode. If you're listening right now, here's what I'd love for you to take away and actually do. Start your day with the sacred 15. Just 15 minutes focused on your mind, body, and soul before you help anyone else. Protect your calendar. Your time is your energy, so honor it. And don't forget to add those 10 to 15-minute buffers between meetings to close loops, reset, and show up with intention for what's next. Then at the end of the day, finish with a shutdown ritual. Write down your wins, your challenges, your celebrations, and your top 3 for tomorrow. Remember, 1 minute of planning can save 10 minutes of execution, and that's how you create sustainable success. If this conversation spoke to you, subscribe for more mindset wins and keep learning how to truly win from within. Until next time, let's go win.